everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm auntieqasmr. This is Mila. I have been so eager to introduce you to my plants, and tonight's the night. So, I mean literally tonight. It's the middle of the night. I tried to record this video earlier, but the forces were not at play for me. The pipes in my apartment were knocking, my neighbors were screaming, and there were sirens outside, so we're gonna do it now. But, yeah, welcome to my home. This is the first video that any of you will have seen of me recording in my home. And if you are a long time viewer of the channel, you might remember a while back I used to make videos from my closet, but that was in a different place. That was when I used to live in San Diego. But since then I've recorded videos in hotel rooms, taking advantage of those quiet spaces as a flight attendant. My apartment's a bit noisy for this to really work, so I hope that this video is relaxing. I'm very, very excited to show you some plants. So, without further ado, I'm going to take you off the tripod real quick. We can give you a spin around. I'll do a quick pan over the kitties so they can say hi. I'll do a quick pan over the plant shelving so that you can get your eyes on the full collection. I counted today. I have exactly 100 plants. And then I'm going to move myself into the kitchen. I'm being very careful not to move right now because the floor also creaks, but the kitchen has tile, so I'll switch myself over to the kitchen and I'll walk you through some plants. I think I want to start with begonias today, so we'll take a look at my begonias. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm standing here in my kitchen. We've got Mila right there, Petal, who you will remember if you did watch those old videos. She used to always hang out with me. And Rumble was only featured in one video, but he's right there on his couch, nice and cozy. Over here, that is actually a cabinet full of antiques with more antiques on top of it. If we're interested, someday we can maybe look at those too. And then the plant shelves over here. This is the first one. Normally the plastic cover goes on top, but for this video I've got them open, and you can see that red right there. That is an amaryllis bulb, not in any dirt, just a bulb that was blooming 4 blooms for me. The final bloom finally wilted off yesterday, so I need to prune that back, but I didn't want to do it until I made this video, just so you could see the one plant in my collection that has flowers. I am a foliage person. I like leafy plants with interesting leaves. variegated leaves and all that kind of stuff. There's a bottom shelf going on down here. That is a peace lily. Those do bloom from time to time, but I just like how big and bushy it is. And that little thing, that's a tray of propagations that I'm working on. And then we have the other shelf. This one has more shelves in it. And eventually I will take you through each of these plants, but I think today let's just start out with the begonias in the collection. If you watched my last video and you saw the new plants I purchased, that's them. Whenever I get a new plant, I keep it inside of a box to isolate it for a little while, to help acclimate it and just make sure if it did have any pests on it that I didn't see, that they don't spread to the collection. So the new plants from my last video are quarantining inside of that little box. But I'll get myself moved over to the kitchen and we can start taking a look at some begonias. Okay, I've got you set up in the kitchen with me now, so I can stand on the tile and not worry about the floors creaking. So I've pulled my begonias so we can take a look. I have 10 begonias in my collection right now. Begonias are one of my 2 favorite genus of plants. Wait a second, I forgot one. Hang on. That was close. I almost forgot one. So, anyways, I was saying, begonias are one of my 2 favorite genus of plants. My favorite plants are begonias and alocasias. And there are 2 main types of begonias. There are Rex begonias, such as this one. And there are cane begonias, such as this one. And cane seems probably pretty obvious, the way that it grows tall and cane-like. They are also often called angel wing begonias because they will grow little angel wing shaped leaves that will grow opposite each other from the nodes, and they do look just like a pair of angel wings. And I personally find that these kinds of begonias are easier for me to grow than the Rex begonias. And the reason why that is for me, I think, is because I used to be an overwaterer. My entire life I've wanted to be able to have plants in my home. Literally as long as I can remember. Every spring, summer, when I was a kid, up until this year, I would always try to get plants. And I would really try to keep them alive, try to learn about what they need, blah, blah, blah. And I would kill them with kindness. I would do too much. And up until this year, I killed every plant I ever tried to have. And Mila's doing something, so I'm just gonna, 1 second. Sorry about that. My children were acting up. But, as I was saying, I killed my plants with kindness in the past, trying to do too much. watering them too frequently will drown them, and I'm very guilty of that. So I've learned now not to do that, but I still do best with plants that have a system of just roots, because basically once the soil is dry, the roots are ready for another drink for the most part. And that's what the cane begonias have going on under the soil. Rex begonias have rhizomes. They grow from these little potato-like thingies down in the soil, and the rhizomes retain a lot of water. And I personally struggle with any kind of plant that retains a lot of water, like succulents. Everybody says that succulents are a great beginner plant because you can ignore them. But I don't think succulents are actually a good beginner plant because I go into panic mode. I never know how much to, a bit like how little is enough, you know? I'm a helicopter mom with my plants. I have a very hard time just letting them be. So, like for example, when the soil goes dry on this plant, it still has a lot of moisture in those rhizomes. And you can run into a problem with overwatering. And for the longest time, anytime I would get a Rex begonia, I would kill it, which is unfortunate because there are so many very cool Rex begonias, and I'm just starting to figure out how to keep them alive, which is very exciting because there are so many cool ones. And the humidity helps. The humidity is a huge factor because the leaves are also very delicate. And now I have these humidity tented shelves that I grow my plants on. They're always at like at least 60% humidity. So I guess I'll just start with this one. This is a Begonia Etna. According to the thing, I don't have these in like any of my plants, but I bought this from like a really boutique nursery, so it has the little thing. And I love it because of these black leaves with red dots. One of the Rex begonias that I tragically murdered, R.I.P., was a begonia that I bought at a nursery back in California in my parents' neighborhood, right by where I grew up. And it was called Begonia Boston Cherries and Chocolate. And you'll see how some of the leaves on this plant are green, and it looks like they darken as they mature. The Boston Cherries and Chocolate does not have any green leaves. They don't start green. They start black and they stay black, which makes it also difficult to care for because anything that's not green doesn't photosynthesize as efficiently. So there's a lot of things going against me with that plant that I unfortunately killed. But I have not seen a Begonia Cherries and Chocolate since, not in any nurseries and not online, but I'm looking because I want to repurchase that plant because I would be able to keep it alive now. And the dots on it were different. They look like inside out ladybugs, and I loved that plant, and I'm very upset that I don't have it anymore. But I saw this one, and aside from the youthful leaves that are green, it is basically the same as the Boston Cherries and Chocolate that I sadly killed. So it is scratching that itch me, and I'm very pleased with it. Look how freaking cool that is. I just love it. The black and red is amazing. So that's one. And since it's right here, I will show you this example of a cane begonia that I was holding up earlier. I don't actually know what this one is called. I just bought it from some girl on Facebook Marketplace. It was like $10. And I only bought it because one, it was cheap, and two, she was kind of far away from me, but I was already in that area picking up another plant from another seller that I had purchased. So I figured I would snatch it up, but from the photos I wasn't like wowed by it. But it has, first of all, grown so nicely for me. Cane begonias are, in my opinion, quite simple to care for. And two, it's just so silvery, and I love the leaf texture. It's kind of, I don't know, it's almost foil-like, so delicate and crackly. It has so much texture, and it's so silvery, and I love the green veination and the red edges. So the longer that I have this plant in my collection, the more I appreciate it. It's just so shiny, and it grows so happily, and the wings, I don't know. The longer I keep this plant, the more I like it. So I don't know what it's called, but there's a lot of silvery begonias, and this one is mine, and I love it. This one, this one is similar to that last one I just showed you. It does not have the angel wing shape. It's much more rounded, but it does have the green veination, the red edges, and the silvery tops, silvery leaves. Now this one is a Rex begonia, so different than this one. Similar kind of vibe, different type. And I struggled with this one for a little bit. This is a Rex begonia that I owned during my transition of definitely killing them to learning how to keep them alive. So yesterday I went through and I pruned off a bunch of leaves that were just kind of crispy, and within my care the plant had gotten smaller than it was when I purchased it, so I did downsize the pot. I found that helps when there's plants that I have been learning how to care for and I finally get them kind of stabilized. I will take a look at the roots and try to see if maybe the pot size that they're in is not appropriate for how small the roots are, and then you'll get more foliage growth, because if your plant is in a pot that's too big, it'll spend its time and energy trying to just grow enough roots to fill out the pot before you will start to see new leaves. So I did do a prune on this, and it's looking kind of small and sad right now, but I am hoping that all of the adjustments will help it to grow big and strong, because all these newer leaves that I didn't prune off are nice and they're not crispy, and I think she's gonna do well for me now. This is another one that I don't know what it's called. Most of my plants, I don't exactly know what they are. I know what kind of plant they are, but the specific cultivar, I'm not really sure with a lot of them. So why don't we take it back to the cane begonias for this next one. This one is a begonia linearens, something that sounds like the word linear. Begonia, something in that neighborhood. Like I said, I don't really remember the names of a lot of my cultivars, just because I don't really like to keep a stake in the pots with the names on them. I don't want anything obstructing the beautiful foliage. But I did buy this one online. It was my first or second time buying plants online. I think I got this one for my birthday. I don't know. But it's really neat. It's unique to a lot of other begonias. Well, a lot of begonias are unique to other begonias. There's so much variety within this genus, and that's one of the things I love about it. So this is a cane begonia. You can see the way that it's growing up tall, and it has the angel wing sort of shape to the leaves, and it has that bright green vein down the center and red leaf backs, which is pretty common for a begonia to have a different color on the back of the leaf. And this was another one that when I saw it in the photos online, I wasn't necessarily wowed by it. But then once I got it in person and I could touch it, I was just like, wow, because the leaves are so thick and they have this leathery texture with a little bit of fuzz on them, but they are so thick and leathery. I do not have any other begonias that are quite this hefty, and it's just so unique and interesting. And the texture, I just love the texture of these leaves and the fuzziness. And that green vein is quite striking also, against the rest of the leaf being nice and dark. So I bought it because it was like $9. I was like, that's a good deal, so I'll get that. And then it's just like the other canes in my collection, such an easygoing guy. And the more I have him, the more I love him. So linens, I don't know, begonia, linear, something. Love it. So let's look at does not look like a plant, does it? It's kind of not at the moment. I had a Begonia maculata, which is what these leaves are from. Begonia maculata is a very popular cane begonia that you have probably seen even in the Home Depot. Very popular plant. It is a cane begonia, so it does have the angel wing shape. You don't really notice it so much because I clipped the wings so that I could fit all of them in this container because I didn't want to do, you know, a bunch of containers just for the sake of saving space. But that Begonia maculata that I had, it was like this tall, but it didn't really give it a very sturdy stake, so it leaned over a lot and it got bumped into a lot, and basically a lot of the leaves came off, and then it had one cane that actually got severed, and I just didn't like the way that it was growing. It didn't have enough leaves on its stalks because of the damage that had been done to it, and I wanted to start over and achieve a bushier plant, so I cut off a bunch of the leaves and I'm propagating them in here. Once they have roots, I will plant them, and hopefully I will be able to get a bushier plant. Now, Begonia maculata has a special place in my heart because it's the first plant that I ever saw that was so cool and alien-like that it made me just really want to be able to keep a plant alive. And I got one years ago, and I bought it at the Home Depot. Didn't know how to care for it, and even back in the day when I used to kill every plant, the Begonia maculata lasted longer than any of the ones that I had at the same time. I did eventually kill it though, and in my care, it never grew. It didn't die, but it also never grew. Didn't get a single new leaf on it since the day I bought it. But it's the first one that I saw that made me love begonias. It made me want to be able to keep plants so badly because the white polka dots and the red backs and the angel wing shape, it just looks so out of this world. And I love that. I love alien looking kind of plants, and there are a lot of those kind of plants within begonia. So in all reality, I'm probably going to get impatient because these will take weeks, maybe months to grow roots. I just did this, and I want a maculata in my collection because I love that plant. So realistically, I probably am going to get impatient and buy myself another one, but I'm still going to keep these propagating because then I can just add them into the other plant that I probably will end up buying, and then that plant that I buy will still be bushier. So realistically, that's probably what I am going to do. So, speaking of alien-looking begonias, let's take a look at these next two. Starting here. So, this is Begonia Amphioxys. I do actually know the name of this one. This is a very small variety of cane begonia, angel wing begonia. I mean, you can just see it's such smaller leaves in comparison to the other ones that I've been showing you. And typically this will be a terrarium plant. It thrives off of much closer to 100% humidity than other plants. And I have already had one of these in my collection. I bought a small one off of a girl on Facebook Marketplace, and I put it inside of a jar. Not exactly a terrarium, but enclosed in the jar. It received 100% humidity. I never had to open it to water it. The water just got recycled. And it was doing so well. It got so big that it didn't fit inside of the jar that I had it in anymore. It was hitting the ceiling and bending over. And instead of pruning it back and putting it in the same jar, I took it out. I found a taller jar and I put it in that jar. And then I have no idea what happened, because I went and to admire it, because I love this plant, and I went to admire it maybe like less than a week later, and all of a sudden it was covered in white, what looked like white powder or white fuzz, and I'm assuming it was mold. And I don't know, because I'm very beginner at plants, so I can tell you if a plant's alive or if it's dead, and if it has visible pests. I can identify pests, but in that kind of like mystery situation, I have no idea what the heck happened. Like, I really have no idea. I don't know if I exposed it to air for too long while I was switching its setup, and then that combined with the moisture made it moldy. I have no idea, and I don't know if I could have just tried to wash it off and kept growing it. I don't know. I kind of panicked and I chopped that plant back because I looked at the roots and the roots were still, they looked healthy. But I probably went overboard. I used hydrogen peroxide and then a straight up alcohol on the stem that I kept behind, and I was hoping that the stem would regrow from the roots, and it did not. It did not survive, and that was really disappointing because I had been doing so well with that plant for so long, and I don't know what happened, but nevertheless, I needed to get it back. So I recently bought this one online. It came to me like this. So, I mean, obviously it doesn't look that great. They gave it to me like this, and each one of these nodes, these bumps along the stem, are where a leaf used to grow. And that's the reason why I chopped up my Begonia maculata, because it had just a bunch of bare nodes and a bare stem, and it looked so naked. And this one is much the same. And some of the leaves, they look a little raggedy. And aside from just like having crispy tips, some of them have like circle-shaped damage, and I think that might be a sign of a fungal issue. Like I said, if it's not dead or doesn't have pests, anything a bit more complicated than that, I don't really know how to identify yet, but I want this plant to live, so I'm going to try to figure out what's going on here with that circular shaped damage, just to make sure that if it is anything other than just normal leaf crisping, that I can try to fix it. And then I have some cloning paste, and I'm going to try to apply it to these bare nodes and see if I can reactivate them and get them to push out a leaf again. But it has 2 other little baby stalks growing from the bottom, and they look really nice. They're very small, but they look really nice. So if I'm just patient with this plant, I'm sure that it'll grow nicely for me. And like I said, it is mostly used in terrariums, so it would prefer to be at much higher humidity than I get even inside of these plant shelves. But after that horrifying nightmare of what happened to my last one, I am scared to repeat that. So I am trying to acclimate it to the humidity that I get in my shelves. And it's crispy a little bit, you know, on some of these leaves. But the new growth is looking a little bit better. So I really hope that I will be able to acclimate this one to like the 60-70% humidity that I get in my shelves, and just be able to keep it not in terrarium, because I love it. It looks so alien and freaky, and the serrated edges, the bright red, irregularly sized dots on it. It just looks like something that shouldn't be on this planet. It is so cool. So I'm really hoping that I can get some repeat success with this one outside of a terrarium environment. So wish me luck on that, would ya? I cough real quick. Pardon me. So, continuing with the really alien-like begonias, this one is a begonia Ferox. And would you just look at that? It is a green leaf with black, very pronounced, very 3-dimensional spikes on it. How cool is that? And if you have trypophobia, avert your eyes real quick. But this is what those spikes look like from the back of the leaf. And those indentations are red on the inside. And they are deep. So the spikes are actually 3-dimensional and hollow. And if you have trypophobia, you can look again. You're safe now. But I saw this plant and I knew immediately that I had to have it. So I bought it for myself online for Christmas. Not for Christmas, for my birthday. And it came with 2 leaves. And this is one of the original leaves that it had. That's why it's showing so much signs of aging. The crispiness on the edges. It came with 2 leaves. Very quickly, it was down to just 1 leaf, because this is another example of a Rex begonia, and like I talked about, we know that I struggle with those. So this one was like on the verge of dying because I only had one leaf left. And funnily enough, I was at Home Depot one day and they randomly had them there, and occasionally they get very like boutique plants at Home Depot and they're very heavily overpriced, but I had heard that somebody had found one in the store on the internet, and then I just happened to stumble upon them. So I bought one as an insurance policy in case this one died, and then the one that I bought at Home Depot ended up dying. And that one was bigger, it had a lot more leaves. I think, quite frankly, I think the pot was overcrowded, but I didn't know enough at the time to suspect that or check to see if maybe I should have resized the pot. But that one very quickly died, and so then I never saw it in stores again, and I committed to making this one work. So I started getting really careful about watering, making sure I wasn't overwatering it, and giving it the extra humidity. Humidity is very important for these rhizomatous begonias, and for the longest time it was just this one leaf, and I still thought it was alive because it wasn't shriveling up and wilting away, but the plant was not doing anything up until literally like a week ago. We started to get this little guy, and he's still unfurling a little bit. His little tail, his little pointy tail, if you can see that, is still curled under, so he's not completely done unfurling. He's still coming in. So right now he's just shiny and green, but if you can take a really close look here, right here and right here, he is getting his first 2 spikes. Do you see that? There's 2 of them. There's this one, and there's a smaller one right there. Right here, and right there. Right here, and right there. He's getting his first 2 spikes. And since this is the first leaf that this plant has produced for me under my care, I don't really know how they grow in, but I'm assuming that they get bigger and they get more spikes as they go along. But maybe not. Maybe this one is just gonna not have that many spikes because it's still rebounding from my less than ideal care. But if you look down here, right by the soil line, do you see this really fuzzy thing right here? That, my friends, that right there is that next leaf that's going to come in, I think. Because with these begonias, the Rex type, you'll usually have the new leaves come in looking just like little tiny fuzz balls. So I think within not too much time, we should be seeing another leaf. And this one, and they might be a little bit wet, to be honest. I just watered him today. But this plant, when I look at this plant, I see my progress. I see my improvement as a plant parent, because I'm figuring it out. I am getting there. But this one was my favorite in my collection from the moment I got it, and it was for the longest time, and it's still one of my absolute favorite plants. It's just so freaky and so cool. I love begonias. So, I get excited when I look at this plant because I brought it back from the verge of death, and it shows that I am learning as I go. Speaking of learning as I go, we have here another example of my progress. So this is, I believe it was called Begonia Moon Dance, or Begonia Moon and Harmony, Begonia Moon something when I bought it. I don't know. All those names are made up anyway, I swear. You'll see the same plant, like literally the same plant being sold under different names. But I bought this at that same nursery in California by my parents' house. I was going to get a very bushy pink firework Rex begonia that I had seen on a previous trip and then regretted not getting because it was such a cute pastel shade of pink. But then I saw this one and I got this one instead because I loved the dark leaves, my goth side one. And I left the pink plant behind, and I still I wish I would have just got both, but when you're flying plants across the country, you have to account for space. But I got this one instead because it has these dark leaves with the bright green veination and then the red backs. But at the time, it was huge. This was a huge plant when I saw it in the nursery, and it was covered in blooms. So it was a happy, healthy plant when I saw it at the nursery. It had at least 2 of these like main stems, and they were branching off in all directions. It was this big, bushy, beautiful, full plant with flowers. And then we brought it up to my house, and it quickly started to die, because once again, this is a Rex type of begonia, and I struggle with those, man. So I went through, I pruned it back, I removed it from its pot, I repotted it into my soil mix and into a smaller pot, because we lost a lot of the plant, which means the root system was a lot smaller. So I put it in a smaller pot so it wouldn't be drowning in its pot. And I just a genus that I know that I struggle with, and so I saw this one and it reminded me so much of that plant, and I thought, you know, I've managed to keep begonias alive, so I will get this one and it will kind of scratch that itch, since I don't feel confident in this point that I can have that other plant and keep it alive, but I can have this one. And I just think it's so fun because it looks so much like that other plant that I love, but that doesn't love me. So I can have this one. And it's got a little bit of new growth coming in here that wasn't there when I got it, and I just recently got it like a week or two ago, so very exciting. I'm actually not sure if this is a Rex or a cane begonia. I do believe, actually I'm not going to make a guess because I literally have no idea, but how neat is that? It looks so different from all the other ones. There's just so much variety of begonias. I think it's a Rex. I think. This is the one that I almost forgot about because it was in the box. If you watch my last video, you've already seen this one. I bought it in Orlando just the other day. And I took the coffee stir stick from my hotel room and the plastic sleeves that the coffee cups came in to just kind of tie it together and just give it some structure, because I was going to have to take it with me on a plane all day. So just kind of compacting it together made it feel more sturdy. And it's kind of cramped inside that box, so I've just kept it tied up for now so that it can fit in there with its brothers and sisters until they're acclimated, and then I can let him out. But I do like the way that it looks like this. But yeah, if you watch my last video, you've already seen this plant. The camera is making it look even more green than it looks in real life, but in real life these leaves just look black. And I just love this plant. I've never seen this begonia before, and I do not know what it's called, but in person the leaves look so dark that they look black. And they have these little pokies on them. That fun, prickly texture. Like a very, very, very extra light version of the Begonia Ferox. Such a cool texture. Such a cool dark color. And this one again is an angel wing begonia. So it has that amazing leaf shape and the amazing way that they grow on either side of the stem each time. So they grow out in these pairs. Look at that. It looks exactly like a pair of wings with that amazing texture and these like serrated edges and the leaf backs that are just this such a cool goth plant with the shape of the leaves and the spikies on it and the red on the back. Ugh. It's just so dreamy and dark and moody. Absolute love. Love, 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 love. Love this plant. Okay. Give myself another sip of tea here. Just 1 second. I hope that the mixture of soft-spoken and whispering has been okay. I'm really starting to feel like I'm over the hurdle. Like I'm definitely, as of a couple days ago, gradually getting better each day from being sick. I can tell I'm standing firmly in the progressing side of this illness, but my throat is still just kind of scratchy. So, trying to speak quieter than my normal talking register, just ick, kind of ick. So, I'm trying to like switch back and forth to fatigue my throat less because it starts to sound hoarse. Hence the tea, but I've got one more to show you. You might have seen it hovering in the background. So this guy is another angel wing begonia, cane begonia, and he's a biggin, and he is just doing his thing. So, once again, I do not know what the specific name for this particular begonia is. I just know that it is an angel wing begonia, as you can clearly see by the way that those leaves are growing. But this one has a much, like the edges aren't so serrated and zigzaggy. It has a very like sorry about that, had to pause. Somebody was walking up the back steps very loudly. But yeah, this one's just really doing its thing. It has these very almost perfect, smooth shape to the leaves. And it has the polka dots, but the polka dots are much smaller than the polka dots that you would see on a maculata. And the leaf backs are green. So it doesn't have red on the back. It's just these nice polka dots, and they are lightly silvery. And this is another one that when I saw it, I bought this on Facebook Marketplace, by the way. When I saw it, I was not super wowed by it, but it was really cheap. So I bought it, and the more that I've had it in my collection, the more I just love it. It's also one that I look at and it gives me confidence in my plant tending skills, because when I got this plant, so it's a cane begonia, right? So it needs to go up. And these stems, they're not vines, they're not flexible, they're not bendy. They're canes. They want to go up, so they need support. I've just got it on a little bamboo stake. But when I got it, first of all, it was in a cover pot with no drainage, and drainage is very important. So it was in a pot with no drainage. It was also not in potting soil. It was what looked to be just straight up dirt from the backyard. Very compact expected, not very well draining, didn't seem to have anything like nutrient rich as an additive. It was just plain old dirt, and it was being treated like a vine. It was flopped over. The weight of itself was almost about to snap it off at the base. And it was one of the first plants that I added to my collection. And at that time, I didn't know a lot, and I certainly didn't have a lot of confidence. But I just looked at the situation that this plant was in, and I thought, that doesn't seem right. So it was the first plant, I think, that I ever did a little bit of rehab for. I took it out of its dirt, and I took it out of its pot with no drainage, and I put it into my potting mix, which is the Fox Farms Ocean something potting soil as my base. It has worm castings and guano in it. That's very good fertilizer and nutrients. And I add horticultural charcoal, orchid bark, and perlite to that to make it even chunkier and more well draining and just more nutrient rich. And I put it in a pot with drainage, and I gave it a bamboo stick to support itself, and I water it with fertilizer, and I think it's happy. I think it's happy because when I got it, it was just one cane, one stem. Now it is 3, and this one's even branching off into 2 right at this point right here. But from the very bottom of the pot, it's now growing 3. We've got the big main one that we started with, which is now branching off for me. Excuse me. No. I'm confused. Though it's this second one. Never mind. But we have this main one that I started with. We have this smaller one, which is now just as tall as the original one. And then we have this little baby one down here, which that one is branching off into 2 right here. And it could use another clip, actually. I do need to support that better. I'll get one of those for it. But at this point, it's outgrown the bamboo stick that I gave it. All of this part is just hanging loose. Hanging loose. So, I snapped it. Oh no. Oh my god, no. That's actually fine. I was literally about to say that I should probably chop it, because having it dangle like that is not good. It's also reached the top of the plant shelf that I have it on, and I don't have a taller shelf to put it on. So it's hitting the lights, and it was gonna break off eventually. But, well, now it's just gonna keep growing, you know? It'll continue to grow. And this, I can propagate this if I want to. That's so funny that just happened. I think I'm just gonna stick it right back in the soil. I'm gonna see if I can soil propagate this. Just like that. I'm gonna remove the bottom couple of leaves and just literally stick it in the soil, because I don't really have the space for more propagations, but I want to see if I can soil propagate it. But anyway, that's hilarious. She's doing really well. And I look at it and I feel some confidence when I see the way that this plant has thrived. And it blooms for me all the time. Begonia blooms. I don't grow plants for their flowers, but begonia blooms are kind of neat. They look like little clamshells, and they come out kind of clustered. They almost kind of remind me of orchids in a very, very, very loose way. Just kind of the mouth shape of them. And this one has bright pink flowers when it flowers, which is really cute. But those are my begonias. And I don't know. Maybe we'll do alocasias in my next video, since that's my other favorite genus. And then I think if you guys like these videos, I'll just make them whenever I'm at home in the middle of the night when I have some quiet, and I can take you through genus by genus for each one that I have multiple plants of, and then we can do a few just miscellaneous videos that I can throw together, a selection of plants that I only have one of, maybe. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I really hope this sound was okay, not too noisy in my apartment, and I really hope that you found it cozy. I've really enjoyed showing you some of my plants, and if you would like to see any additional plant videos, please go ahead and let me know. But I'm going to say goodbye for